Welcome, welcome to the August session of Coach.me office hours. Good to see the core crew here. Always feels like a bit of a reunion every month. Particularly since I've kind of been on another assignment for a while, so I haven't seen these folks for a little
A
bit.
special assignment in an undisclosed location.
There
Sorry, it
you
just sounds more official that way.
go. I wish I was in some undisclosed locations. Unfortunately, my feet have been right here in this location a whole lot. So maybe someday that will start to change a little bit. I've been reading books about undisclosed locations. That's about the closest I'm getting to that. So, Lydia, I love the theme of our newsletter this week, about um, kind of don't fight the current, go with the current, and think about, how we use the natural seasons and rhythms in productive ways. So what's kind of the biggest takeaway from you in your conversations um with Albert and Arno and Ruben and all the coaches that you've talked with lately on how to think about these sort of in between seasons, if we will. Anything jump out at you? Or I guess, does anybody have any sort of personalized ways you think about navigating, August? It's sort of notorious
Yeah,
a
August is a
challenging month.
weird time. Where I am, August is particularly difficult because nothing works like for the kids, for families, like school and everything is like everything is shut down. So parents have to take care of kids. So honestly, here where I am, August is mainly, you know, getting your kids busy with something. For us, it's a little bit different, but yeah, I think for me, August is preparation month. I don't know. I don't want, it's a little bit like December. For me, like December, it's nice, it's a family time, but at the same time, I know the next month is going to be hot in terms of business because everybody's going to be back. Everybody's going to be like, okay, I need to get these goals. So I want to be prepared. And, um, you need to make a choice. You can either get on the, relaxed family, bandwagon, or on my side. Again, there is no right or wrong. It's just you have to make the choice. And for me, this month is I'm preparing. Next month, I'm running the challenge. We launching the program. There are so many things that we doing in September, both with Coach.me and my personal coaching business, that for me, August is all about getting ready. So that's my August. And yes, I have to balance it with my kid or kids, and actually, I'm lucky because I have 3 birthdays in August.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Um, so it's my youngest son, my oldest son, and our wedding anniversary, and my husband's birthday. So
Oh, wow.
actually
Okay.
4. Yeah, I know, it's tough. And yet, and yes, I know end of August is going to be all this array of happy celebration and stuff. And it's not, I'm sharing this because life is happening, irregardless of what's going on around the globe. But yet, I'm making August a preparation month because I want September to be a success for Coachdotme, because we're launching. I don't want to give it away too much, but
We got a lot on the plate.
we
Yeah.
got a lot on the plate.
Yes.
And then I'm launching in my coaching business, I also launching challenge. So yeah, you have to, you have to choose your priorities. And sometimes it's not what other people do, and that's okay. And that's okay. So I guess that's my speech.
Love it, love it. All right, Erno, how do you think about a month like August?
It is different. The children, I don't have children in my house anymore, so that's already different. And second, I see it is a holiday month for us too, so we take a couple of days off. We don't have weeks off right now because we're busy with the house. And at the same time, a couple of clients returned. They also asked if it was okay to return now during this time, and I said yes. So other clients are also on vacation, so they're taking breaks too. So it's kind of like next year. So some of them are like 2 weeks off, and then they return. We continue the coaching, and new coaches, new clients added, and then also it feels like okay, on a lot of other projects I was doing, it's quieter, so I have more time for reflection. So that's what I do right now, a lot of reflection of, so what is it, what's the next step, what's the things I want to do. And it's not a lot of changes. I don't have any big launches or anything planned for the next month, next half year I should say, because of the house. I've got plenty of work with that. And I think also in general, it's just a very steady flow right now. I mean, businesses often are closed or taking like 3 weeks off. That's very regular in our country. It may not be regular in your area, but it's regular in our country. So and the kids have like 6 weeks off or 8 weeks off. And it's going to be until they still have here in our area, they have still one more week left after this week. So until, and then that means for most clients, that means everything returns to like a natural rhythm again. So that probably also means that my work is going to return to like a natural rhythm again. So that's me.
Sounds good. Scott, how's your world?
My August kind of has picked up a little bit. My earlier summer was down a little bit, but I've had 3 or 4 clients come on here in August. So I've actually had some client facing time, so to speak. But yeah, I think in some ways I've kind of been doing it long enough that I've got things set up where I kind of do somewhat the same thing all the time, if that makes sense. There's not a lot of up and down. So I've usually got a couple of long-term projects that I'm working on, and then the rest of it is just sort of my day-to-day normal. What am I doing now? I am gearing up a little bit since we've relocated to kind of build some different connections here, in a new town, but I know how to do it. It's just now putting it into practice and doing it. I've done it before, but I've got to do it in a new place. So it's just redoing some of that. But so that's not, but again, that's a long-term project. That's not a short-term project. So I always have a certain amount kind of in the background that I do. And then I have the day-to-day stuff that I do, if that makes sense.
Do you see any more adoption of kind of the European style August here in the States? I'm curious what your take is on that.
Not some, but not, I don't think as much, obviously, as it does as they do in Europe. And I work with international clients too, and I see it more internationally than I do here. But there's some of that. I see more of our slowdown in the US is usually around the November, December.
Right.
That's when I get more clients that come over and go, I need a couple of weeks. I can't cram everything in. Rather than the summer. It happens some in the summer, but not as much, I would say. I got to the point now where I don't try to generalize by place as much as I do by, I just, what's your rhythm?
Right,
Because
right,
different, because
right.
again, like Erno's saying, you have kids, you don't have different rhythm.
Right.
You have young kids versus adult, different rhythm. It's, I think all of us, yes, there's some patterns by culture, but there's also variations within individuals too. So it's what is it? I think we all face around coaching. It's like everyone has the same problem uniquely. It's like,
There you
it's
go.
like,
There you go.
we coach on the same thing, and yet,
In a very unique way. Yeah.
every version is a little different because the person's a little different. So it's never exactly the same way twice. That's kind of what I like about coaching. That's what makes it fun.
So Chris, we're just talking about how we each kind of think about the month of August. Is it a full steam ahead month? Is it, a prep month? Is it a relaxation month? Is it a reflection month? And just kind of getting everybody's take on how you're using this August, if it's any different than, than any other time. So curious how you're thinking about it, if there's a difference for you.
Well, first of all, as a self-employed coach, you don't have a relaxation month. You just don't. I've always asked my clients, I'm going on holiday. Do you mind paying me while I'm away? Because I'm not going to be doing face-to-face sessions with you. Could they always laugh and go, no. So it's a case of you kind of plan your year and your breaks, hopefully in line with your clients. And when a client goes, oh, I'm away for that 2 weeks as well, and I go, great. That's perfect. Not like, oh, actually, when you get back, I'm away for 2 weeks. You go, oh, great. And August and July here in the UK is like that. If I start taking time off in July and August, it usually is, like I'm away for a week and then I come back and my client who was there for a week is now away for a week. So it's actually 2 weeks. So I try to avoid that if I can around this time of year. And it's more prep for me, traditionally, it's September to the end of the year is when I'm the busiest in getting new clients and just people around. But as Scott said, everyone's different and it's not always. But as a general rule of thumb, that's what happens, which has changed over the last couple of years. It's not as black and white as that anymore. There's more variance in there. So different from online clients to face-to-face clients, because my online clients don't even know I'm away or where I am, and as long as I message them, and they don't really care.
Right.
We have face-to-face clients, it's very obvious when I'm not there.
There you
Yeah.
go. Breakdown of business models right in front of us. I love it. What I thought, I've heard several of you say, and was surprising to me when I first realized it, is how much things pick up in September and October. In fact, we started calling it, habit season, is when people sort of look at those year-end goals. I suspect they look at the goals they've set for the year. They realize, ooh, I'm maybe not on track at all for this. Let's re-engage and see if I can make a push. Do you see that, Chris, in kind of the health goals?
Yeah. It's different depending on what hemisphere you're in. Because Southern Hemisphere is coming out of winter into their summer. That can be different.
Mm.
But it's usually in the Western world anyway, which I predominantly coach, is September through to when the crazy season in America, your Thanksgiving, which really, if you could push it back in later December, that'd be really good. But that kind of not dead time, but it's you've done your summer holidays, you're now kind of in this time between summer holidays and the festive season. And it's kind of people kind of start saying, it's a bit like January, February, isn't it? People go, oh, there's nothing else to do. Might as well just crack on with, trying to be healthier and fitter and stronger. Where from probably end of April onwards, it gets a little bit more chaotic because the summer's coming and people got other plans, and so from there. So that's what I find in the health and fitness industry anyway.
Cool. And Scott, you mentioned it same in sort of the finances side of things. See the same sort of patterns.
Yeah, I think a lot of health goals and finance goals often get aligned, just in terms of timing and things. It's not identical, but it's very, very similar because, yeah, people kind of get towards the end of the year and look up and go, well, I said I was going to do this by the end of the year. And, that's 3 months away and I haven't done a darn thing. So, maybe I can get started on it now, kind of thing. And it's whether it's lose 40 pounds or whether it's finally, have a plan for your money. I think it's a similar feeling of overwhelm and realization that maybe I'm not going to do it on my own, and maybe I should, get a coach or someone to help. I honestly, I think a lot of habits that are quote resolutions fall into that. What I mean by that is people was, I resolved to go to the gym is that's a habit, but it's also the kind of habit that is tied really to something else usually. In other words, people don't want to go to the gym and like treat it like a library and sit and read a magazine. That's not why they want to go to the gym. They want to go to the gym to either lose weight or get healthy, or it's tied to a bigger idea, if that makes sense.
There are a lot of people who go to gyms and read magazines and books.
There are, but it doesn't help them very much with their underlying goal.
No. Yeah, I like the old, or at least they're exercising. I go, yeah, it's not a long-term really strategy.
Love it, love it. Okay, so we've got tons of wisdom in this room, and so I want to give y'all a few seconds to think about it. And you can pick. I want you to give advice to either a brand new coach, somebody who's just getting started on coaching. What advice would you give them for this time of year? Or your best piece of advice for somebody, it can be your own client or just a human being in general that kind of is either in the American side of things, your kids have been in school a week or two now, you could start to think about your life. Or on the European side of things, your kids are about to go back to school, you're back from vacation, you're sort of about to hit that natural transition point where you could maybe be a little more selfish, if I could use that word, particularly in the parent side of things. So what's one piece of advice that you would share with either coaches or clients for around this time of year, if they really do want to take advantage of the season and make some progress? Anybody have a thought?
I will start. I'm big on the fresh start effect. People underestimate it, but it's psychologically proven. There have been studies that there is a fresh start effect. And fresh start could be anything from Monday or first of the month or birthday, or the season that you just mentioned. It's new calendar, not calendar, new academic year. Kids are in school, so people can use this as a booster, right? We need a booster. Remember, like gymnastics, right? Like, let's use this. It's very visual. Gymnastics, they they run and they use this thing. I don't know how you call this thing.
Trampoline. Yeah.
Trampoline.
There you go.
You jump on and you can jump. So, imagine you jump from the flat line or you jump from this trampoline. It gives you such a booster. So fresh start effect is real.
I like it.
And however, artificial it sounds, it actually works. So use it. You say, okay, this is 1st of September. This is the new academic year, or, it's just the last quarter. It doesn't really matter. But use it as, I love to call it a new chapter. A new chapter of my life. you know, I close the chapter and leave everything, you know, my doubts, my mistakes, my, you know, whatever behind, and I open a new chapter, and I use the fresh start effect to benefit and to give me this trampoline. Just whatever I want to achieve in the next, and I use quarters because quarters are really good. 90 days, a quarter, and we're about that. It's like about until the end of the year, a little bit more, but that's okay. You know, just use this, you know, use
Good
this
stuff.
trampoline. Yeah,
I like it.
motivation, and whatever you want to achieve, just do this and use this time to, you know, to boost, to achieve whatever was on your, you know, on your spectrum, on your 2025 goals. Yeah, I think you still have a chance to achieve this, and you can use this booster to achieve this. That's my thing.
Love it. Anybody else got one?
Yeah, I just spoke with a client one day, and we looked at the things he did before vacation. So he has younger kids, so he takes like 6 weeks off or works differently in his rhythms. And he's out of the rhythm that he was before, like doing sales calls in the morning, like the first 2 hours of the day. That was his rhythm before. So it's going to be like another week and a half before his kids go back to school. But they're not at the house a lot. But still, the back to school is a very clear deadline for him. So I told him, or asked him, you know, what if you get back in the rhythm already a couple of days now? So you start moving in the direction. So when they go to school, you're already, you know, on the rhythm and you're back into it. So that's what we went at. So look at the things that worked before the holiday season started, and use that for the next couple of 1.5 weeks to get into the rhythm, so that when they go back to school, you're ready to do really full time that thing that you want to do.
Like
you need
practice.
to do. Yeah. Getting back into the rhythm. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I guess for me, because I think it works for both coaches as well as clients, is remember this is a marathon, not a sprint. It's don't. So often we look for the one event or the one thing, or, you know, the perfect app, or I'm going to do this one thing and it's going to completely change my life. And it's like, yeah, usually that doesn't stick. You know, that it doesn't stick around. It's temporary. And so lean into the fact that this is a process, not an event. This is, you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint, whatever analogy you want to use, to look for those small changes. You know, that's one of the big things about habit coaching is, you know, look for those small incremental changes, but you can do and stick to rhythm and keep doing. And that's the real change. That's the change that'll stick around. And actually, you know, 3 years from now, you'll look up and be amazed at what's happened if you can lean into the small. Ironically, concentrating on small makes big changes, and concentrating on big makes small changes. You know, which is seems counterintuitive, but that's actually what science says happens. So lean into that and just be comfortable with that, even though it feels weird.
I like that. I like that. Chris, any
Well, I
wisdom?
have, two wise things to say. First one I was going to say was about helping a client get back into rhythm after a break, but Uno stole that from me. And my second bit of wisdom was about, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And Scott stole that from me. So clearly wiser men have gone before me. And but to elaborate on the sprint and the marathon is probably that your client is thinking it's a sprint. Well, actually also believes it's a marathon, but acts like it's a sprint. because they want to get there really quickly. And as a coach, you've got to kind of find a balance between the coaching them for a marathon, but teaching them for you know, meeting them where they are in their sprint. So that's probably advice I give to a new coach is you could get caught up in the sprint. I've got a couple clients. I've got some clients at the moment who Coach me that who know it's a marathon and they're
Good.
in it for the long haul. And I got a new client who starts off thinking it's a marathon, but now it's a sprint. And she wants to try everything.
You know, that's a great point, and that's been a point of emphasis. In fact, Lydia's done a mountain of work on this summer, is changing our onboarding to help, what's the word? Educate, that's not quite the right word, but it's a word that's coming to mind. Set expectations with clients about habit science so that the coach isn't bearing the full weight of having to educate a client, you know, that pretty much anything accomplished during a sprint isn't really going to last unless you figure out how to turn it into a marathon. So she's done amazing at adding, and I don't know if y'all have seen it. If you haven't, get on the onboarding sequence. It is an incredible habit science primer. And then we've got the Friday newsletter now. So the idea is that we're supporting coaches by dropping these messages that hopefully reinforce the exact same thing that clients are hearing from coaches, because it's a hard mental shift. You know, the delayed gratification thing has tripped up humans for centuries. So there's
well, this particular client, we've started off a habit, and I, you know, saying this, get that consistent. And it's not just the habit we're becoming consistent at, we're learning to become consistent,
right,
regardless of the habit. And then suddenly she sent me a message saying, I've also decided to add this habit, and this habit. It's 3 more habits. I was like, okay. We know as coaches where that leads. It leads to not being able to do it, and therefore you think, oh. So we've stripped it back. I've compromised, and we stripped it back to 2.
okay,
because she's already started failing on the first one. So, but it's trying to teach them that understanding that, you know, I want you to achieve your goals really quickly as well. But if we don't go about it the right way, you might get there, but you won't stay there.
right.
So, yeah, and it's personality types, isn't it? Because I've got some clients who don't think like that. So it's not a given that's going to happen. It's just, and usually if you do a really good assessment of someone beforehand, they fill out a questionnaire for you, and if you do it right, you kind of get a sense of that personality, and therefore you can straight off the bat start coaching them in a way that, knowing that these trip hazards are going to come, and kind of prepare them in a way to deal with that when it happens.
Love it.
Great
Love it, love
topic.
it.
Because I had a conversation about that this week with another client, and I find it sometimes like not easy, these conversations, because you're a coach and they have to learn, they have to experience something before they really see it's not working. And so you have the insight and you want to use, but also you have to make sure that they discover on themselves that, you know, it's not what they expected it to be. So I have a client, and she's having like meetings with other entrepreneurs, and she's looking at this, and she's talking to this entrepreneur, and she was doing like 10K a month, but working like way too many hours for hers in comparison. She said, I wouldn't want to do that. I want to burn up like this. But still, she felt like, you know, compelled to compare herself on this number and see what she can do. And she's coming up with these ideas. I need to do something, but I'm also sure that I don't want to burn out. Don't want to burn out. So we had a conversation about that, but it's not an easy conversation because they have to find out themselves, but you still also want to help them and give them like a kind of direction and guidance without, you know, saying you have to do this. For example, I said, well, you have to find it yourself. And then she asked, but I really want your opinion on this. Please tell me, how would you do it? Okay, I will share what I think. But I think it's a delicate line at that moment when what you're walking at that moment. So thank you for sharing that, Chris.
Yeah, it's a bit like you see a client's about to run into a pole.
Yes.
They don't know they're about to run into that pole, and you divert them away from the pole, and they didn't even know that you just diverted an accident. But then they just run towards the next pole, and you go, oh. And sometimes you just got to let them run into that pole and go, so what can we learn from that? Well, I need to open my eyes.
You
Good.
just described parenting in a few sentences, but anyway, there's a lot of
it's so much reminds of parenting, and where you want to prevent every single mistake your kids would do. Like, it's so much like that, but at some point you realize you can't do this. The only thing you can do, and I think it's very much like coaching, is be there for them. So be very close and, earn their trust so that when they make the fall, right? Because they're going to do it. They're going to make this mistake. They're going to, they're going to fall, that they can turn back to you. Like, this is the only goal, that they will be comfortable to come back to you and say, hey,
I hit a pole. Guess what? Yeah.
So going back to the mistake
guess
thing,
what?
Yeah.
That's this is the thing, and only after my third child I realized that this is the goal, that as a parent, that's your only purpose, that create a space. And I think it's very much like a coach, create a space where they feel safe to make whatever mistake and come back to you, so they can discuss that, and then they can learn from that, because that's the only way forward, right? That's the only way forward, to make the mistake, to learn from this mistake through discussion with you, through sharing with you, and then learning and growing from that.
What you're saying about not wanting to see your children make mistakes, you only know it's going to be a mistake because you've gone through that mistake, and therefore it's a mistake by going through the mistake. So how will they know it's a mistake unless they go through the mistake? Same with clients. It's just it. You just hope that it doesn't lead to the end of the relationship, because you're like, I was so close getting you to the end.
Exactly. So that's the whole thing. So your goal should be creating the space. That's what I was saying, in both in the coaching relationship and a children or parent relationship, creating the space where they feel safe, that they can come and share with you whatever happens. I think that's the only space we can create, and that's the best.
I agree. I think what you're saying earlier about what to say to new coaches is always, I always find it helpful to ask the person. If I've given advice, I always kind of try to end it. So what do you think? What's your take on this? And it's that 1 + 1 = 3, isn't it? You're an expert in what you know, and they're an expert in what they know, and get both parties working together instead of one being the lead and one being a follower, is quite a strong way of doing it, because both sides are buying into it and not just doing as they're told.
And I think in the end, Chris, we all have to make our own share of mistakes, and hope it just maybe not all of them, okay, we can reduce, but we have to. There's
maybe
still
not all at a giant scale.
Exactly.
Right? We can just keep the scope small.
But there are still mistakes that we have to make and learn from them. I just don't believe, at this point in my life, I don't believe you can avoid mistakes. It's just not possible. It's just not
interesting,
possible.
because Kendra, if you don't mind me mentioning, because you have made it public that you're doing the 75. That doesn't give you any room for mistake, does it?
Well, it's interesting.
There's different. I'm just saying there's different approaches to it, isn't it?
And the video I posted this morning is kind of about that. So I think it's in how you define. I think it's a really good conversation. And I think it's in how you define success, or how you define prevailing, if you're talking about the Stockdale paradox, or how you define winning a day or whatever. So when I do, I mean, I would say I'm 75% of 75 hard all day, every day, right? So it's just the the little bits. And for example, the main component of 75 hard is the two workouts, two 45-minute workouts, and then following a nutrition plan. So I think it's in how you define that nutrition plan. Do you really lock it down where you can only eat, chicken and broccoli and green beans at every meal? Or do you define it as, I need so much protein, I need to track what I'm eating, which is the route I go. It's my commitment is to track, my commitment is a certain amount of protein, and my commitment is below a certain threshold of sugar. And so if I'm doing those three things, I have some wiggle room, if you will. I mean, I can probably eat, a Quest chocolate, whatever this is, as a little bit of a treat, as long as this doesn't turn into an entire chocolate cake, So it's like, do I set it up? And there's a reason this is nearby. Do I set it up so that I kind of acknowledge a certain amount of off trackness, it baked into the still definition of success. But it's a great question.
Because it all depends on some people do really well on not making any mistakes.
Yeah.
That's their thing. Where others like me, I kind of like, I learn more from mistakes
Yeah,
than not making mistakes. So the 75, for example, this whole thing is about not making a mistake for 75 days.
Well, and if I were to be having a conversation with Andy Frisella, he would probably not be a fan, because I think I adapt 75 hard to meet my goals, which I still think is an integrity of the program. I don't think I'm violating the core tenets of the program, but I absolutely use it to meet my goals versus try to force myself through a goal that somebody else defined. Because I've learned, I mean, I think I've done it, I've completed it once, I've attempted it at least twice before that, and maybe more than that. And so you did learn every time you fail, and I'm going to use fail in air quotes. Every time you don't complete a goal for the day, a commitment that you've set for the day, you get feedback on that and go, okay, why did I miss that? Was it because I wasn't organized? Was it because I literally forgot? Or was it because I got emotional and overate, or because I got sick and couldn't do the workouts, like what's the root cause?
That's what we call the 750-day plan.
There you go.
Just keep learning. Just keep learning.
Right.
Learn.
Yeah, I'd love to, you mentioned it. I'd love for you to comment on the video I shared today on your take on the technical. How important are the technicalities? I'd love to see your thoughts on.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
like the
looked at some.
electrolytes in the water. I mean, their FAQs say you're supposed to drink a gallon of water and not put electrolytes, not put lemon, not put anything in the. I'm
Look,
not.
I think what I got from the 75, and this goes into the type of program that matches the type of personality. And if you look at Lydia's looked at this, I have a 13 question questionnaire. It's to find out someone's personality consistency type. So how consistent is someone, and therefore match the program to that. With a 75 is very much, it speaks to a certain type of personality type. Like, I think I'm quite consistent person, but you won't get me doing the 75 because I don't agree with the things that you have to do. So that wouldn't appeal to me. But I think the whole idea about the 75 is not the habits. It's about, have you got the mindset to be able to follow something consistently for, in this case, 75 days for whatever reason. so for you if you can adjust it to what you know you can be consistent at, 75 days or 60 days or 30 days. And if the best you've done is 29 days and you get to 30 days before you stop being consistent, then that's a win. You know, the 75 and the habits are arbitrary.
Right.
For me,
Right.
I think that's what the 75 program's about. And I think people get too hung up on those habits or the 75 days.
Well, so I agree with you. And so my path is like, again, probably not the Andy Frisella endorsed path, but I tell you, I've got 6 or 8 people thinking about working out consistently and eating well consistently just by wrapping it in this moniker of 75 hard. And they're people that otherwise would not necessarily be looking at the month of September and going, okay, I'm going to commit to walking every day and I'm going to commit to eating well. So it has I think it has some usefulness in that the marketing matters, right? The marketing and the structure. And I do think there's a lesson we can take away as coaches to kind of think about that side of it too, you know, in what's appealing to people. It's
But as I said, that goes after a certain personality type. If that's your market, that's
actually
great.
it's not. It's the most random. It is not the disciplined people that are bringing it up. We'll see where we go from here.
I think it goes, Chris, I think, you know, funny enough, it goes back to what I mentioned in the beginning, to the fresh start effect. And it's like, you know, not just the fresh start, but also something that you can belong. Like, because we have the belonging part is very strong for individuals. So they might not be the most disciplined people, but they want to belong to the group of people who doing this, and they don't care whatever it is, you know, they don't care. It's just they're following the instructions, whatever the instructions are.
I was saying, you know, being part of a community is a big thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. So I think we have to take into account the fresh start. So we starting this 1st September or whatever, 5th September, we're starting this together. It gives such a boost of motivation, and then once you do it for a few days, then the momentum takes in. You know, we know the power of momentum, right? We know if you do it, you know, for a few days in a row, then the power of momentum kicks in. So it doesn't matter what it is. You just want to continue the streak. You just want to keep doing. You know, for us, people who know way more and, you know, who have a lot, you know, a lot more to consider, it's way more complicated. But, you know, I think if this can bring more people to the healthy way of living, you know, so be it. So be it.
Cool stuff. Well, thanks y'all for a fantastic conversation. Lots of wisdom shared. I love that fresh start effect. You're going to see that in one of my videos in the next couple weeks. And I love the getting in rhythm early, practicing that, remembering that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And then the part about holding or creating trust so that when clients do fail, that we're there to help. I think those were all really great pearls of wisdom that are relevant for coaches and clients. So thank y'all for being at the ready with some good advice. All right, we'll see everybody again soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.